everybody, my name is Miranda and today I'm here to discuss episode 1 of the latest Dimension 20 season, Never Stop Blowing Up. After seeing the trailer for this, I was really pumped for this season to start. I think first of all, the table is absolutely amazing. Reika is one of my favorite players, and it's funny because before this season was announced, probably like during like Fantasy High junior year and all that, I was just thinking of like potential people that we could have seen since they're like adding in a lot of first timers and stuff like that. But I had thought like, oh, I love Reika so much and we haven't seen her at a table in a while. So I was really excited to get her back. Her choices are just always like so wild, and I feel like the power of her and Allie at the same table, along with Izzy actually, if you think about it, I feel like that's just gonna cause this like chaotic power that just might send a shockwave through the whole studio, and who knows what's gonna happen. We also have Iffy, which I'm really excited about because I don't think, well, he was in Shriek Week. I honestly feel like I forgot that he was in Escape from the Bloodkeep. I don't know if I mentioned that when I was talking about like in the trailer and saying like what I had liked to see him in, because I was like, oh, Reika and Iffy have literally been in a season together and it's one of my favorite seasons. So I don't want to get like too high hopes, but after watching this episode, I was like, this is definitely going to be one of my favorite seasons, which I feel like is wild to say after only the first episode, but just the vibes of it are so immaculate. I feel like every single Dimension 20 season, the production and the quality of it just gets better and better, and it's wild because I don't think they could do better. Like, you know, they add in like the screens, they make the DM board more interactive and stuff, and I'm always like, it can't possibly get better than this. And then somehow they find a way too. I absolutely love the addition of the cutscenes. I think it really adds to that vibe of like not only the movies, but the like action movie style that they're going for. So it's so cool to see kind of what they're describing and then see it in like a cutscene kind of animation style. It's just, I feel like it adds this dimension and this layer to it that is just so cool, and I'm pumped to see where this season is gonna go. I feel like it's definitely gonna be stressful because in this one we already almost saw if you get like seriously injured or something like that, his character, but I love the idea, and I think it's so interesting in a D&D format of kind of doing a like Jumanji kind of thing. I know like this is like not the first one, but it's like, you know, them getting sucked into a thing instead of like the thing coming out. But I just think the idea of like you meeting these characters as they are in the quote unquote real world in California, then you meet these kind of action hero characters that we see briefly when we get their introductions, and like how they're it took me a while, I'm gonna be honest, to figure out that some of them were like actual action characters. Like James Bond I got because it was like Greg Stock, so Bond Stock, I got that. And then I feel like Izzy's was the most obvious for me of being like a die-hard kind of John McClane kind of person, but it took me a scary long time to figure out that King Skin was Kingpin from Daredevil, and then Iffy's is also Vin Diesel. I literally did not get that till in the adventuring party. Brennan was like a non-copyright infringement Vic Ethanol, and I was like, what does that mean? And then I was like, oh, what's another word for ethanol? Diesel. Vic is one off of Vin, so I was like, oh, I don't really know who Allie is supposed to be. I can't tell if it's Black Widow or if it's just a generic action star. Same with Reika, if it's just like generic hacker. I don't know too many of those movies though to like pinpoint them exactly, so I don't know. If you know like if they're actually supposed to be characters who exist in an action movie, let me know, because those were the only two that I couldn't pin down for sure. But like I said, I love the idea of meeting those characters, meeting these action heroes, and then I also didn't realize this till Allie pointed out in Adventuring Party, but kind of like getting to meet not only 12 characters, because you meet them in the real world, their action counterparts, but then another 6, because like these hybrid of like, oh, now it's the characters from the real world controlling the action characters, and it's like different because they kind of have a different like body and world and stuff they're in, but they've got all their memories and stuff from the actual world. So I just think it's going to be really interesting. The end, we definitely got more than I thought of seeing them like interact in the video game. I keep calling it a video game. It's not a video game. It's a VHS tape. But in the VHS tape, I definitely didn't think we would get to see as much of that, so I was really excited. Like, I thought it was going to end with them getting, like, sucked into the VHS and then being like, and that's all for this episode. So I like getting to see them wake up kind of in their place that they're in, and literally for a majority of them just right in the action, and how they had to deal with that right away, and kind of you didn't even have really time to figure out like what you're doing. I do think the funniest for me in terms of like who they are in the real world versus who they are playing in this VHS movie is definitely Reika, because I just love the idea of the oldest woman in the world who does not know who technology works now playing the hacker, because I think it's just so funny to think like, yeah, you've got these skills like for I guess like Greg and maybe even like Jennifer Drips and stuff like that, like your body's kind of muscle memory in a way, right? Like if you can figure out how to do things, like your body kind of takes over at a certain point. But I feel like poor Reika as G13, like what are you gonna do when you have this like old lady who doesn't know how anything works about technology? You plop her in this person that's supposed to be like the greatest hacker in the world. Like how is she gonna be able to figure out anything and do anything? But I also think it would be funny if like that's her kind of character arc, is like her learning all this stuff and then going back into the real world and being like, I got all this, and just being like hacker extraordinaire, this little like 100-year-old woman. I think would be so cute. I'm also curious if they are all gonna go back or if someone's gonna decide to stay in the real world. I don't know how it happens with like other kind of things like this, Neverending Story and stuff like that, but in the second newest Jumanji, one of the characters decides to stay in the world, and I feel like that could be a very interesting kind of character decision where we see everything go. So I was curious about that. I will say just overall, Table Vibes I think is immaculate. They absolutely captured the experience of like working at a chain store. I say this as someone who worked at like a department store on the floor and in register, and it's just a whole like inexplainable beast if you have not done it. It is like you are with people you would never ever hang out with, and not even like I don't like to hang out with you, but just like so different walks of life that if you weren't working together you guys would never know each other, and yet you bond over just the like wildness and the unbelievability of your job and how much it sucks. So I feel like I was almost getting like nostalgic for that, and I hated that job so much, but like they did such a good job portraying like the relationships between the coworkers and how like you're really like a little family, that I got nostalgic for that time simply because of that. It's so realistic to be like, you've got an 18-year-old fresh out of high school and then this 54-year-old divorcee who are like absolute best friends when they clock in. It's so cute to have Wendell kind of be trying to impress his crush from school that he probably doesn't really get to talk to, but he's trying to, you know, have her back and help her out as best as he can. The old lady who's just doing the very best she can, but also like refuses to try and learn anything new that would make anyone's job easier and her job easier with technology. I also really, really love Russell. Allie, I don't know what I can say about their characters. They're always so, I could never in a million years ever bet what it would be, and I love Russell with my whole heart. I also love that Donna is so obsessed with him and has like this giant crush on him, and how Allie was like playing into that. Like I was crying laughing. The hardest I have laughed, I would say in a while, but I probably laughed that hard at like British Christian, which is also an Allie thing, which is wild. But I was laughing so hard when Russell was ripping up the carpet and Allie was like pantomiming it.
Russell is like spidered out on the ground, like ass so high in the air, ripping the carpet out with this knife. Just like so sweaty and like
just like the movements they were doing. I could not stop laughing.
Fine, my granddaughter's got a birthday party.
What?
Us ladies gotta stick together.
What?
You respond to I left this post-it note in your lunch cupboard. My granddaughter's having a birthday party. Hey, your eyes are
Knock it
drifting
out.
again, Paula. You should check out my
Erect.
optometrist. They're very good. We can get cataract surgery together if you want it. We could get the double.
Yeah, I rewound it so many times because it was just so funny and hysterical, and it's just like that idea of like, yeah, it's like everyone's got like a random crush. I feel like when they're at work, it's just like when their crush does anything, you're just like. I also love that Dang is the nephew of Russell, and Dang has this alien that he communicates with that no one really, like no one wants to call him out on it because everyone's just like, okay, and he's like so earnest, and the way they just all have each other's back. I saw someone like explain it very well of like that's like being a co-worker, you know, when it's like your boss wants you to be like, we're a family here, you're like, no, you're not part of this. And Dave was definitely not part of this, but I just love that, like, you know, like Russell hearing Dave talk bad about Donna and then like body slamming the door into him on accident. We had, you know, Donna reviewing the security cameras and not saying that like she saw Wendell's brothers doing donuts in the parking lot because that would have got him in trouble, and just stuff like that. I think just is like little cute things that really shows, I think, not only like a great way to set up the world and the heart of the characters that we're in, but also like shows the comfortableness and the familiarity that like these players have with each other, and that like they're really friends in real life. And I think that's just so great and so wonderful. I'm excited to see like when and if and how they find each other. I'm sure they do, because like that wouldn't make any sense to have them like all separated. But I just mean one's currently driving a car down the freeway. Well, I think he stopped, but you know he's driving a car. One's in a club trying not to do cocaine. One is breaking into a thing and just seeing like whatever she was supposed to get completely like killed by, I assume, the guy that sucked them into this movie. And then Reika just had everyone that she was supposed to be helping killed. And then we also had Dang, who is in a submarine, I believe. So it's just very interesting to see how they're all gonna like connect and get back to each other. So I'm excited to see that, because I feel like it's gonna be funny when they realize like what's going on. And I also think like the stereotypes of like the NPCs are gonna be really funny. And like I think I'm most excited right now for Alex's character, because I just think playing a crime lord and then throwing like an 18-year-old girl in the body of a crime lord, it's like there's gonna be a lot of leeway for like, oh, like no one wants to make the boss mad, but I feel like everyone's looking for like a slip up to like seize power. So I feel very worried about Liv right now, because I just feel like it could be very obvious if she's like not on top of it that like someone's gonna try and take her out or something like that. I also have to say I'm so happy that Alex is back. I really love them as Conrad, and I was kind of interested to see like what the character direction they would bring into this one was like, but just seeing all the interactions they had was so different from what Conrad did, but still like perfectly for that character. Like I think seeing what really did it was for me seeing them when Liv was talking to her high school teacher, and how she just kind of stood up and was like a little more like, you know, how you act like when you see a teacher, like you would in high school when you see a teacher outside. So I feel like I was just very impressed that it was so different from Conrad, and that made me really happy, because that means like the world is open for like more characters that we could get for them. And I think especially they're going to be one of the funny ones with the hybrid. I think Reika as a old lady who doesn't know technology and supposedly the greatest hacker in the world is going to be funny. I think a 18-year-old girl who occasionally, well, not occasionally I guess, but like somewhat seemingly can't control it shoplifting is now a crime lord is funny. So I'm just really excited. I think it's so fun. I love the system of how they're all kind of starting at D4s, all a level playing field, and then it's like as your dice explode, that's when you get better and that's when you kind of learn. So I feel like it sets everyone off on like an equal footing, which makes sense because they're all kind of thrust into this situation the same, so it would be weird if like one person is better at something than the other. So I really like that they're doing that, and I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. I love Kids on Broom, particularly. Like D&D will obviously always have a special place in my heart, but I just love a system that rewards you for failing and can help you later in the game through those failures. I know like if you fail by more than 5 it's bad, but I just like the idea that there's a little something of like, hey, you didn't do it this time, but this might be able to help you do something even bigger later. Like I think it's really nice and easy to follow along to for like people who are new to the systems and stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be really fun. Cut to me probably 2 months from now like crying because all these characters died or something like that, but as of now I'm enjoying it. So yeah, let me know what you thought down below in the comments, who your favorite characters are, like in the California world, in the action world, like what you're expecting from all of them, and just what you're looking forward to in this season. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!